This minisode is an extract of our conversation with Charlotte Hill, CEO of the Felix Project. The Felix Project is a fast-growing charity that rescues surplus food and distributes it to those in need in London. Working with businesses is key to the success of their work. In this extract, Charlotte gives us 2 examples of what good and bad look like when it comes to corporate partnership.
Bit of a tricky question now. Naming no names, but what is your worst corporate experience that you've had to deal with? Partnership experience, I should say, maybe.
Yeah, I think to be honest, if I think back, so the 2 organisations I ran before the Felix Project were both youth sector organisations.
Mm-hmm.
So UK Youth was a big national youth work charity, and Step Up to Serve and the I Will campaign was all around getting young people volunteering. I think the trickiest thing always for me in those situations would be when a corporate would let young people down. So, you know, if at the very last minute a group pull out of a volunteering day, you know, because there's been some sort of big crisis or some sort of big things happened at work, and I think people don't always realise the impact of pulling out of a day has on a charity. And so particularly if there were young people involved and they had like planned something or were looking forward to meeting people or doing something, and then that gets pulled. But similarly at the Felix Project, one of the trickiest things now is if at the last minute a corporate group pull out of a volunteering day for us, we either have to pay for agency staff to cover that shift, or my colleagues have to basically probably work double shifts to cover the because we're not making up nice to haves for our group and corporate volunteers to do. They're doing really essential work that means that the food is going from here to here, and that food still has to get there at the end of that day, even if that group doesn't turn up. So I always think those are the things where I think sometimes groups and corporate volunteers or for whatever reason when they don't turn up, they don't realise the impact it has.
Yeah, so it's a real world impact when corporates don't follow through. A bit nicer now. What's the best one that you've had? What's the best partnership? And you might have many, but maybe what's the themes?
We've got loads of amazing partnerships, but I think where the best ones are is when you get really embedded across lots of different functions of a business. So I'll give you a really good example of Amazon. So we have a massive and amazing partnership with Amazon, and we obviously work with Amazon Fresh on rescuing all of the food we can from Amazon Fresh, but we also work with Amazon Logistics. So they give us, when they've got spare drivers and vans, they give us extra logistics capacity to help us move food around London. We get amazing volunteers from all across the different bits of the Amazon business who come and volunteer. They helped us. So we've got a farm down in Kent where we rescue like hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of tons of apples and plums and pears over a kind of a 4-week period. And Amazon basically drive all of the fruit back into London for us free of charge every day. Like it's so multifaceted and there's so many different elements to it. But there's a really good fit in that effectively we are a logistics company and they are a logistics company. And they also use technology and they also have food and so actually there's so many different touch points across the business that massively benefit them partnering with us, but also massively benefit the Felix Project. So it feels like we've built loads of really deep, meaningful, lovely relationships across. So last week, actually, we had about 50 senior leaders from Amazon Fresh who came and took over one part of our depot, and they did their like management away day there, and then they did a shift volunteering in the afternoon. And I knew loads of them, like because actually they're quite an embedded part of what we do. And similarly with Morgan Stanley, who I mentioned earlier, you know, I know so many of the Morgan Stanley colleagues because we've just extended. We've had a 2-year partnership with Morgan Stanley. We've actually now extended it for another 5 years because so many of the Morgan Stanley colleagues love coming and volunteering in our depot and kitchen. And again, I love it now. I know so many of those faces from Morgan Stanley who come, and they first of all would have come as a group and volunteered, but actually they come back as individuals on the weekend because they love it so much. And you know, and it's great because Morgan Stanley also give us an amazing level of funding as well as the volunteer time, as well as they give us loads of like pro bono capacity to help us do big strategic challenges and. So for me, it's these like multi-touch point partnerships, but that go over many, many years.
Yeah, I was going to say
And
the long termness seems to be really important, and the synergy with what you're doing.
It absolutely is. And yeah, being, you know, I always like to think that we match people like toe to toe for professionalism. So we try and make sure we are run as efficiently and effectively and professionally as we possibly can, so that when we're working with any of these businesses, actually, I'd like to think that we respond, you know, as they would expect a business partner to.
You would you match them.
We do. We really, really try to, within the realms of the possible. So yeah, we really try to. But yeah, it's the long-term embedded partnerships where and also where we're really honest about what we can and can't do. And I also feel really comfortable, because I've known a lot of the people in those organizations for years now, asking for help when we're struggling or when something's not gone right or whatever, genuinely treating them as a genuine partner and asking for help. Is
great. And I think you said that earlier around the communications as well, like being bold enough to say this is what we need, and then being able to respond to that, which I guess as with any relationship, communication and trust is key. And it sounds like it's exactly the same here.
Oh God, completely. And I always think people forget, and maybe this is from my days of working in Whitehall, everybody sitting on the other side of the table from you is just a person. Whether they're a government minister or the prime minister or the CEO of a big business or whoever it is, they're just a person, and you form a relationship with them in the same way you would form a relationship with anyone. So I think like really building relationships, actual human contact. Like I always say to my guys, just pick up the phone. Don't send an email. Don't be a faceless person at the end of a keyboard. Like pick up a phone and make a relationship with people. And I think that is one of the big benefits we have as the Felix Project, because what we do is so tangible, because people physically come out and spend time with us. You know, whether you're out in a van with someone or sitting alongside them on a packing line or whatever it is, you get like a good few hours. Like back in the olden days, you'd go and play a round of golf with someone to get that sort of time to kind of like get engagement with them. Get them volunteering at Felix, and you can't help but form a relationship with someone when you get a proper chunk of time doing something quite physical alongside them. So I think it's like the modern day golf of how you build corporate relationships. Come and help us feed people instead of paying lots of money to play golf.
You heard it here first. Volunteering is the new golf when it comes to networking. You can listen to the full conversation next week on Breaking the Mould. We talk about corporate partnerships in more detail and the brilliant work done by the charity.